We are continuing with our Giallo/Italianathon. Yes, folks, Dario Argento's masterpiece of terror. For the first time, uncut and uncensored. We've got we have the Stendhal Syndrome. Stendhal, something like that. When beautiful police detective Anna Mani follows the bloody trail of a sophisticated serial murderer slash rapist through the streets of Italy, the young woman falls to the bizarre Stendhal Syndrome, a hallucinatory phenomenon which causes her to lose her mind and memory in the presence of powerful works of art. Trapped in this twilight realm, Anna plunges deeper and deeper into sexual psychosis until she comes to know the killer's madness more intimately than she ever imagined. Horror maestro Dario Argento reaches new heights of florid fantasy of Grand Guignol, this ripped, warped work of art starring Maxim Magazine's sexiest woman in the world, his daughter, and Marco Lenardi from Dusk Till Dawn 3, and it was a third one. Previously edited outside of Italy, the Stendhal Syndrome is now presented here in all its grotesque glory. Remastered in high definition under the supervision of cinematographer Giuseppe Rotuno. I think Giuseppe is Joseph or John. Joseph. All that jazz Morricore from the original Italian 35mm Interpols and low with it. Exclusive new extras in this 2-disc special edition. Best part, original Italian with effing subtitles. Good. 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 When I reviewed Opera, they didn't have the subtitles, and it was in English. That was a massive wet fart for me. This movie is, oh boy, this one's interesting. It's not Argento reinventing the wheel, but it's pretty much just taking what some of us have where we get entranced by something, and what happens when it becomes obsessive. And how obsessive, one may wonder. Well, it can get to the point that we just start to lose. We can really lose ourselves from what is when we just become entranced by beautiful works of art, and it's just yes. This movie is a message to the viewer of what happens, ultimately when something gets inside of you, how hard it is to truly shake yourself from the phenomenon, and you just feel trapped and overwhelmed by it, and it's like this is a very psychological film. It is not pretty. So some people may be turned off just by how, not I don't want to say over the top, but just intense and gritty it is. It's just so. It just when you watch it, you're just standing there like, what exactly is what's going on here? It's like maybe it's not really you could say it's a descent into madness, because when that scene happens twice, actually, she gets so afflicted that she starts to think that Alfredo is actually still a part of her, taking over her subconsciousness. Is that the truth? For what I could gather, no, because they do discover his body in such a mangled condition after going through various aqueducts and part of was it like a water company or something like that. It is a sight to behold in a way. But here we just get to see the torment going on. I mean, Azia, real name Aria Argento, delivers one hell of a performance. At first, being like the toughest nails chick, trying to saying, "Hey, I'm going to determine exactly what's going on here." It's like, so she sees a phone call saying, "Hey, yeah, Alfredo, the schmuck is going to be here." And lo and behold, we find out what's really going on, and it's an intensive scene happening there. I mean, it's not pretty. And then it happens again about 50 minutes in, but she does manage to pretty much bill him. And it's like, yes, it's, just when you think it, it's like, oh, okay, she's going to get her way and she's going to pretty much eliminate him. But then you look at it, you're like, only an hour has passed? What's going on here? Well, it's her having to deal with the, what's the word? I guess you could call assault on herself that she's doing psychologically. I wouldn't really, maybe a little bit of dissociative identity disorder, where she's still trying to maintain herself, but when the spirit or whatever comes in, the being absolutely entranced by this, it starts to mess with her, and she actually does go around. I think it's like even in the beginning when there's this one like passive guy who kind of wants to have sex with her, but it's reluctant. It's like she gets very into a nymphomaniac state. It's like, oh yeah, you want to F? Well, I'm effing you right now. And then he tells her, and then she tells him to get out of there, and then she ends up crying. That's just the beginning of what happens. It's just like it just evolves from there and becomes such a trip. I guess really not a trip. It's just the psychosis that happens. It's just absolutely intense. I'm like, wow. And then when you finally get to the last half hour, it's like the effective lead up towards what happens towards another character, and then one at the end. It's just absolutely incredible. And yes, you can watch this on YouTube for like $4 in the English language. There's also a French version that's uploaded, so take your pick about that. Yeah. Let's see what else. Yeah, this movie was. So when Dario was younger, he visited Athens in, I don't know, how old was he? 85, like the 40s or 50s. When he was a child, his parents lost him for several hours, and he saw that he was entranced by a bunch of work of art, and so he always remembered this throughout his life. But then when he read some book, I forgot which one, it was the catalyst for him remembering everything and pretty much just creating the movie that we all saw right there. So it ultimately just became I think it was that, and in the scene where the second assault takes place, our gentleman hires some like local artists or whatever was it, the crew managed to do like some background art, and within one night they managed to do 100 feet of graffiti, which is pretty dang impressive. So it just adds more to the overall absolute just dedication that this team had, And of course, when it's like, also the very first usage of CG, I'm like, it was really odd to see a tablet like aspirin or something go down the old esophagus, right down the old stomach, or the actual word gastas. And yeah, I'm like, that is so bizarre. I'm like, what? And then also her kind of walking into a painting that's called The Night Guard, which is a French painting, if I'm not mistaken. And there's another second one that she becomes enamored with called Fall of Icarus, which is a commentary about the human condition, like being too vain and stuff like that. And the painter was looking at like more like questioning moral objectivity and stuff like that. You could probably find more of it online, but yeah, it's just absolutely crazy to see what happens. But yeah, it's like some of the scenes, it's like the boxing scene where she starts to get a little overwhelming, where we can see as Alfredo coming out wanting to try and pretty much take over her body, even though that she's still technically herself. That was kind of crazy. Like, so it's like this constant battle within her. And again, we're seeing with all the art, being just being like absolutely entranced by it. It's like she'll be willing to do anything to meet this other person that she wants to meet. We see all the beautiful Greek architecture and imagery and all the French impressions and everything else like that. I don't know anything about art, okay? So that's probably someone I want to actually contact with that see if I can recommend this movie. Oh yeah, it'll be a trip. But yeah, at the same time, this movie, it did feel a little long. I felt like it could have been trimmed by 10 minutes or so. I don't know. Just towards the end, it just, like, it's like you could tell the escalation was going to happen. But again, when it visits the museum and the doctor coming in, it just, like, it pays off well. But, and again, just with how psychological and performative it is by Azia, it's just, would it be for everyone? Because even I was looking at how far it is. I'm like, only an hour and 30 minutes in. It's like, yes, I do have a good attention span, but I just think around this time Argento was just trying to figure out the next step. He did good in this one. There's also the Card Player, which is kind of a pseudo successor, I guess, to this one. I don't know. But yeah, in case you're wondering who Stendhal was, there was this guy named Marie Henri Boyal or something like that, who supposedly experienced the absolute same thing. He was a Frenchman in the 1800s, and had this happen a lot to him. So that's pretty much how it came to be. So anytime you see a person being entranced at a painting for a couple of minutes, well, you know the name of it, you may want to return them back to reality. So you may like this. Your mileage may vary if you watch the Stendhal Syndrome.